Parsha, read about the obligation of Birchas Hamazon. Torah tells us, "V'chalta v'savoto v'irachto." You've eaten and you sated v'irachto. One has an obligation to say Birchas Hamazon. 3 of the brachos are a doraisa. They're a Torah obligation. The 4th bracha is only rabbinical. This is the only bracha which no one argues is definitely, if one eats to a sated point, the 5 grains of Eretz Yisrael, one must say the Birchas Hamazon. It's a question, Birchas Torah, is it a doraisa, is it a Torah obligation or not? That's an argument. The Gemara in Brachos has a question, what about Bracha Rishona? What about the bracha on food which precedes one's eating? What is the basis for that? So the Gemara says it's based on a kal v'chomer. It's a logical concept. If one has to acknowledge God, kshu savea, kshu roiv lo koshkem, when he's famished, there's no question he has to acknowledge God. That is the basis to predicate one's eating on a bracha, and this is called Birchas Hanenin. The bracha which we acknowledge God when we benefit from food or drink, Birchas Hanenin. It's based on the Kal V'chomer. Then the Gemara concludes that also lo'odam le'honus mandom zeblo bracha, that a person is not permitted to benefit from this world without acknowledging it through a bracha. And if one benefits from this world without acknowledging God as the creator, as the omnipotent one, it's the equivalent of benefiting something that was consecrated. That's the Gemara's conclusion. The Gemara cites 2 psukim, 2 verses in Tilim. Dovid Melech says, L'Hashem ha'aretz u'mloah, the world its entirety is God's. Then he says something else which seems to be contradictory. Hashamayim shamayim L'Hashem ha'aretz u'mloah levnei Odom. The heavens is God, the terrestrial is man. But yet, the previous statement is the world, its entirety, including the terrestrial level, is Hashem's. The Gemara answers, kan koidim brocha, kan lacha brocha. Before the brocha, before one acknowledges the world to be God's, it's all God's. Once you've acknowledged Hashem Elokeinu melech olam, you've acknowledged it through the brocha, or it's nosal lifnei odom. The terrestrial level now is for man to partake of. So one will no longer be moel, it will not be, it's released from its sanctity status. So Rameir Simcha of Dvinsk asks a question. We know that Kal V'chomer is one of the 13 methodologies through which we interpret the Torah. And whatever we're able to extrapolate and extract through these methodologies, it's a Torah obligation. But yet we know that Birchas Hanenin is only drabonon. If one has a question whether he said a bracha or did not say a bracha, one doesn't repeat the bracha. If it would be a Torah obligation, one would be obligated to repeat the bracha. So, how do we understand if the basis for the bracha is kal v'chomer, madoch shu roi soveh hu mevorech shu roiv lo koshkein? So if that's the case, the pre-bracha is a Torah obligation. On that, Rabbi Simcha answers that the kal v'chomer is a faulty kal v'chomer. There's a certain fallacy in the kal v'chomer. The basis for the kal v'chomer is baseless. Why? The Torah tells us, Moshe Rabbeinu, before we came to Eretz Yisrael, he forewarns us. He says you're going to come and you're going to find wealth and you're going to have your own location. You're going to have your herds. You're going to have your flocks. Vayishman, Yeshurun, Vayivot. Yeshurun, which is Klal Yisrael, will become fattened, and they're going to bolt. And what do they say? All this wealth, all this power, we created it ourselves. So we see that when a person is in a sated state, he's complacent, that's when he's vulnerable for this type of understanding. So immediately the Torah tells us when you finish eating the savoto and you have that level of vulnerability, uvirachto, you must immediately trace the basis for that satiation and that complacency to its source, uvirachto. However, when a person is roiv, a person is famished, one understands exactly he's needy. When a person in a needy state, he doesn't have that complacency. Therefore, he has greater level of clarity. Therefore, on a Torah level, there's no need for a bracha. So that the Gemara says, so why does one say a bracha? On that, the Gemara concludes that the world is all God's, Lashem Urtzim Loah, and the only way it becomes available to us is only if it's released through acknowledging who God is.